tribute to the nature boy. Let's take the glasses off here for a second, everybody. Holy hell, man. Little bit of a yawn, not a big yawn, a little bit of a yawn. To start it off, I want to welcome everybody to the Thursday morning edition. Turn the hazards off. To the Off Base Podcast. The podcast carefully crafted to remind you to suck on a fat one if you think you're the only one. Because you're not. I'm your host. I'm the Rocky Mountain no-name Jackass, and it is 66 degrees here in Aurora at 7:53 in the a.m. on Thursday, May 19th, 2022. So, chaw time. The ceremonial first spit. And sometimes a second. You know what? Let's turn the heat off here. You know, usually you get in a car in the morning and it's nice outside, but the seats are still cold, so that's why I had a little bit of heat on. Why am I explaining myself to you people? I don't know. You people. To the two people who occasionally wander along YouTube and find this podcast. Yo, not a bad set of events that are shaping up here, everybody. However, let me hit this point first. You know, when the Air Force tells my wife, go here, or when they say jump, she says, how high? She's a good soldier. Or airman. Airwoman, excuse me. And when they told us to go to Colorado, she said, all right, we're packing up, we're going. So, you know, I'm going to complain here a little bit. Not against the Air Force, but just against where we're at. There are various Air Force bases across the United States and even across the world. And I guess you could say we were spoiled a little bit. There's a big yawn for you. We were spoiled a little bit, I think, living in Texas for 7 years, in Florida for 1. Those are fantastic places to live. And as shitty as the weather is in Alaska, we made the most of that, man. I have very fond feelings for Alaska. But Colorado, we're not huge fans. We're not the biggest fans here in Colorado. And there's something that's going to be happening over the course of the next 1 to 3 days that solidifies the fact that we are not huge fans of Colorado. Ladies and gentlemen, it's going to get up to about 85 degrees today. And then, what's going to happen? Hang on, I'm trying to get in here and these fuckers won't let me in because I got to turn right. And then what's going to happen tonight at about 9 p.m. And the reason why I know it's 9 p.m. is because every morning I ask stepdaughter to do the weather forecast. And she does she's very funny. When she does the barometric pressure, the first time that she read it, it was like, 28.73. And then she said, Inhug. And I was like, wait, what? Inhug? And she said, that's what it says right here, 29.7 Inhug. And I said, you mean inches of mercury? She didn't know what HG stood for. She just saw Inhug. Inches of mercury. Anyway, she gave the weather report this morning, and that when she does the Inhug part, that's probably the best part for me. I just love hearing her say that. Because even though now we know it's inches of mercury, I asked her specifically not to say inches of mercury, but to say Inhug. And she does. She appeases her stepfather. Anyway, upon reading the weather forecast to us today, she said at about 9 o'clock is when it's going to start to cool off, when the temperature is going to start to descend. And it's going to descend from about 85 down to about 25 over the course of those 24 hours. A 60-degree swing in temperatures. Folks, it's May 19th. May 19th. we're going from 85 to 25, and we're supposed to get 6 inches of snow in May. What the fuck? It's rather ridiculous. My son went to school in shorts this morning because he's having field day, and then tomorrow he's going to have to go in a snowsuit. Fucking unreal, man. Colorado. Don't like the weather here, and the people can't drive. But what are you going to do? You know, what are you going to do? You make the most of it, and that's what we're going to do. Many events going on for the children here as the school year winds down. They got a week and a day left. Well, count today. It's a week and 2 days. Stepson's got an awards ceremony tonight. And last night when I picked him up, he was talking about, he said, you know what they should do instead? They should have, instead of award ceremonies, they should have punishment ceremonies. Where kids who do bad stuff just get called into a room, and instead of giving them awards on stage, they get punished. And I said, dude, you got yourself a great script right there. You know? Write a story similar to the Hunger Games, where everybody's being oppressed, and then they got to fight against the oppression. Fight against the punishment ceremony. Great title. There it is. And I told him, I was like, look, over the summer, take 2 hours away from the screen every day, sit down and write the punishment ceremonies, whatever, or whatever you want to call it. It'd be fucking awesome. So he's got a potential script on his hand, movie script. We'll see what he does. Step Joada's got a dance tomorrow, and somehow I got to find a way to get my workouts in. Couldn't do it yesterday because stepson stayed after school until 6:30, so I took the youngest home and then went back and picked him up. And by the time we got home, it was 7:10, 7:15. We hadn't eaten dinner, so I made the dinner. And then by the time we finished dinner, then we went to bed. Which, by the way, we'll jump to that now. We'll jump to the sleep. Well, just to finish off, events coming up over the weekend. My wife and I are going to Carmen. We're going to the opera in the freezing cold, because it's going to be cold again on Saturday as well. I don't know if we're going to have more snow, but fucking bleh. Anyway, the sleep deal, man, it was very interesting last night. We went to bed normal time. I fell asleep. Been using the earplugs, which is great, and I woke up at like 2:45. Fuck. And my goal is to keep working at it. Stay in bed, try and get that uninterrupted 8 hours all the way through. At some point, I'm going to stop waking up in the middle of the night. So 2:45, I go back to sleep. I took the earplugs out, go back to sleep. And I wake up again. It's fucking 3:30. It's like 45 minutes later. Come on, man. And, normally I set my alarm for 5. Can't remember the last time that I woke up by my alarm. But sometimes if it's, like 4:30, if I get up at 4:30, 4:45, I'll just be like, all right, I'll just get up and I'll start things off. It doesn't make sense for me to stay in bed for another half hour or 15 minutes. But it was only 3:30. I was like, I can get another hour and a half here. And I was, this morning, for the first time in a long time, woken up by my alarm. And here's the funny part, is that sometimes if I wake up around 4:15, 4:30, I got no problems like getting up. Like I feel just perfectly fine. I wanted to have slept more, but I'm like, all right, now it's time to start the day. My brain gets into that mode and off we go. Well, today, being woken up by my alarm at 5, I didn't want to get up, which told me that I think I'm making some kind of progress, because I think my brain was getting into that deeper sleep. Now, I don't know for sure. I got no empirical evidence or knowledge, but it just felt like I was getting into a deeper sleep because my body didn't want to go. So hopefully I can start to smooth that gap out and not wake up in the middle of the night and sleep all the way through. So we'll see how that goes. Alright, that turns our attention now to where? What are we talking about? There's a lot going on right now. We'll take it to food. Oh, and my son, he signed up for baseball. 9-10-year-old baseball league. It's not a coach pitch anymore. It's a kid pitch. And we're supposed to have practice tomorrow, but I don't think it's going to happen because of the snow. But we'll see. You know, who knows? We'll see what we got going on. Food-wise, though. So we got stepson ceremony tonight. I'll probably just make quick hamburgers for din-dins. My son's got leftovers. He's good there. Stepson, I don't know what the hell he's going to eat. I think he's got leftover rice. I'm not 100% sure on that. Kid loves rice. Actually, when I made rice for him the other night, because on taco night, he likes bean, cheese, and rice tacos. So I usually make a pot of rice for him. And then after he finishes the tacos, then he just pours soy sauce all over the rice and goes nuts on it. Kid's a rice fiend. And I can't blame him. I used to love rice at his age, too. But I went and looked at how many calories are actually in a pot of rice. So, you know, it's just a cup of uncooked rice. You know, obviously when you cook it up, it's more than a cup. But according to the serving sizes on the back, a quarter cup of uncooked rice has 160 calories, and then the full cup has 640. I was pretty surprised by that. I thought it was going to be way more. I thought it was going to be like in the thousands. But it wasn't. It's only about 640. 640 calories you get from a cup of uncooked rice. That could last you the day if you eat a cup of rice every day. Throw in some protein in there and then maybe another meal, you're all right. It's all good. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. Anyway, tomorrow night, I'm making a dish that we love. And that is what we affectionately call crack pasta. First made it for my wife back in Alaska, like maybe 11 years ago. And the reason why we called it crack pasta is because after we had our initial serving, I made it for lunch one time on a Saturday. Kids were at their father's at the time. They were little, and we didn't have my son yet. So it was just me and my wife hanging around the house. And made it for lunch, but for the rest of the day, that's all we did was pick at it. We couldn't stop eating it. It was that fucking addictive. Such that I didn't need to make anything for dinner that night. We just kept eating that shit all day long. Oh my God, it was delicious. So, you might be saying, what's in it? Whoops. Cars are slowing down quick. And I will tell you, because it's very simple. Sausage, garlic, and then after you cook that down, you throw in a can of tomatoes, and 3 hot cherry peppers. That's the magic ingredient right there. Because it gives you a little bit of heat, but not so much that it burns your face off. Just the tiniest little bit of heat, and it mixes so well with sausage. It's so good. So then what you do is you cook up a box of penne, and you throw that in. And, sorry, lost my train of thought there. And then after you mix it all in, you put it in a casserole dish, top it with mozzarella, and top it with Parmesan. Cook that shit up. It's a baked pasta. Oh, very simple. Ultra simple. And it's awesome. So that's tomorrow night. Saturday, like I said, we'll be going out to dinner before the opera. And I haven't decided what we're going to do for Sunday yet. Sunday, I think in the summertime here, we're going to be switching to Sandwich Sunday, so I have to figure out what kind of sandwich I'm going to make. I might make this Reuben with kimchi. We'll see. But anyway, we'll switch gears now. We're almost at the halfway point. Switch it again to economics. Because shit's developing, and it's developing quickly, man. The 10-year U.S. Treasury, it's usually a pretty good benchmark over the past. Well, no, I you know what? Scratch that. If you look at a chart of bonds since the 80s, All right, we're in the 2022, which is right now. The 2020s, excuse me. But if you look at a chart of bonds since the 80s, they have just steadily gone down and down and down and down and down. And in the periods of crisis that we've had, that is where money typically flocks to. It'll flock to bonds, it'll flock to the dollar. You look at a chart of the dollar right now, and the dollar is breaking out. It has the potential to go to 120 on the dollar index. Right now it's at 105. And what people don't know about the dollar index, it's great for US folk because it gives us more purchasing power abroad. However, a strong dollar, because of its hegemony across the globe, wreaks havoc on third world countries. Just think about exchange rates, right? Particularly with countries that have weak currencies to begin with. If all of a sudden you get a strong dollar, that's an inverse relationship. The value of the dollar goes up, the value of the other people's currency goes way, way down. So we run the risk here of seeing a dollar spike and really seeing some damage done to the global economy. Now, that also means that prices come down in the if I could speak English, in the domestic markets as well. But again, that allows our purchasing power to go up. We can buy more stuff with the dollars that we have. Now, one of the problems that you got is that, the Federal Reserve increased the size of its balance sheet by $9 trillion since the pandemic low. So we have more dollars in the system. So what we're talking about here is a relative game of currencies around the world. And in times of crisis, people will flock to the United States dollar. What's a treasury bond? Well, a treasury bond or treasury note, I think, I don't want to misspeak. All that is a claim on the dollar in the future. Because what you're doing is you're loaning your money out in dollars, and you're expecting to get those dollars back at a future date, along with the interest that's paid on them. So, same reason why people will bid up bonds. It's similar to why they rush to the dollar in times of crisis as well. Because they got to make sure that they have their dollars to pay whatever debts they have, dollar-denominated debt. And we have been in a steady decline in rates. And the relationship between rates and the price of bonds is also inverse. So if people are bidding up bonds, that drives the rate down. So buying bonds drives the rate down. Selling bonds drives the rate up. And what we have seen in the 10-year U.S. Treasury is we have seen a very, very quick move since the beginning of the year from, I think, 1% to up to 3%. That's a huge move. That's a 200% move in terms of basis points, which is a fancy way of saying percentages. And right now we are right at that downtrend line where you would expect 10-year treasuries to go lower. Turn down and go lower. But I have a feeling it's going to be different this time. Finally, it's going to be different. Because the Fed they're pushing on a string, man. They've raised their federal funds rate, not even to 1% right now. And 10-year treasury is at 3%. Which means they are behind the curve, son. And the last time they tried to raise rates was in 2018. And what we saw there in the fourth quarter of 2018 was a 20% drop in the markets. And you also saw bond yields rise as well. Well, when 2018 hit, Fed Chair Jerome Powell came out and said, oh, no, I'm sorry, we're not raising rates anymore. We're going to lower them. And they took them back down. And then the pandemic hit, and they took them immediately to zero. So when we hit the trend line in 2018, we rolled right back down. We're hitting the trend line again right now. And I just have this strange suspicion that the bond market is going to call the Federal Reserve's bluff and say, you know what? We're taking that printing press away from you fuckers, and these rates are going to where they should be, which is higher. The only reason why they're lower is because the Fed's been buying bonds. If they would have left the process up to the markets, bond rates, mortgage rates, all those rates would be so much higher, because we don't have creditworthy borrowers in the United States. We don't have a lot of creditworthy borrowers in the United States. I mean, my wife and I have been pretty lucky. In terms of debt, we've got none. Our cars are paid off. We're renting right now. At some point, we'll take on a mortgage, but we don't have other debt. Our student loans are paid off. We're good to go. But the number of Americans who do have debt, and a lot of it is going up. Credit card debt is at its highest right now because people are putting groceries on credit cards and not paying them off at the end of the month. It's not good out there, everybody. It's not good. So to discourage people from borrowing, rates have to go up. Make sure you have the money, everybody, before you make large purchases. And if you don't really need the large purchase, defer it. You don't need to make it. Save. Don't get taxed on that interest, man. But our culture is such, it's that now culture. Gotta have it. Do anything to get it. Take out a loan. Whew. Mortgage rates from last year at this time. I was watching a podcast this morning. Wealthion. Very good. Adam Taggart is the host of it. And they were just looking at numbers now compared to last year. Last year, mortgage rates was 3.16%. Today, they're over 5%. That's 66% rise. 2/3 rise in the mortgage rate. That wreaks havoc on people who don't have the income to afford it. And not to mention the fact that, our economy is 70% driven by consumer spending. What if everybody started to save, man? Then maybe we might have to produce stuff here in the United States to actually get the GDP going. That's a novel idea. One that we had for a good 150, 200 years before we went off the gold standard. Anyway, getting scanned. What's up, man?
Hey, how you doing?
Not bad.
Have a good day.
Thank you. And off we go. It's very interesting. I've been talking about economics as much as I have over the last couple of weeks because this shit's finally hitting the fan. I've been expecting it to hit the fan since 2016. I thought the presidential election of 2016 was what was going to push us over the edge. I thought Hillary Clinton's election was going to start it off for us, but guess what? It didn't. Trump came into office, and the stock market took off, and he hung his presidency, hung his hat on that. And the stock market certainly performed. If you had money in the market, hey, man, more power to you. But if you didn't sell, the correction is here. Well, the bear market is here. And it's probably going to be a little bit longer than most. It's probably going to be, well, I guess protracted means longer. I was going to say long and protracted. So anyway, I got Denver in the foreground with the Rockies in the background. Folks, pay attention to your money that's being invested. Pay attention to what's going on with the Federal Reserve. If they turn on a dime and you see the markets act accordingly, everybody follows the Fed and starts to take the markets back up, you might want to get invested. But if they're raising rates into a slowing economy, go to cash, man. You'll find bargains. You'll find phenomenal bargains. My introduction to the markets was during the bear market of 07 to 09. I always thought everything just went up. In a bear market, though, vicious bear markets like we're seeing right now, I mean, the Nasdaq's almost fallen 30% in 5 months. That's vicious, son. In vicious bear markets, Prices will go lower than you ever thought imaginable. And you will find some serious bargains. Serious. So, do your work out there. Do your best. Forget the rest. And we'll close it down for a Thursday. Have a great Thursday, everybody. I'll smell you tomorrow.